The president is also trying to keep one of his other campaign promises, repealing Obamacare. He's tried shifts on policy, courting Democrats, and even threatening Republicans. But Elaine, no amount of presidential flexibility on this front has produced the desired result.
Well, Major, let's start with the foreign policy challenge you've reported is dominating deliberations at the White House, China's willingness to deter North Korea's long-range nuclear capabilities. Where do those negotiations stand?
Well, they're pretty opaque. The president is using his Twitter feed to express a lot of confidence that China wants to do the right thing, can do the right thing, that he's established a good working relationship with Chinese President Xi Jinping. But the president has also said, if in fact China doesn't do the things it needs to do to deter North Korea's continued pursuit of nuclear weapons capability, and most importantly, the ballistic missile capability to deliver a nuclear warhead to the United States, then the United States is prepared to act alone with whatever group of allies will join it. So what we don't know is what kind of signals the Chinese have given the president privately about what they are preparing to do or intend to do. And the next couple of weeks are going to be very crucial in that regard. The administration has sent some signals that it is urging China to take much more aggressive economic measures against North Korea to make it clear to Pyongyang that Beijing is serious about this matter and that it doesn't want to risk any kind of military conflict on the Korean Peninsula. And China now wonders if the Trump administration is willing to entertain just that kind of military conflict to deter North Korea, and if so, the Chinese are incentivized by that anxiety to work more aggressively with North Korea. That at least is the White House hope. It is its belief. We have yet to see it translated into specific Chinese action.
Major, you outlined a number of reversals we've seen from the president. Have those inconsistencies strengthened or weakened his agenda, or is it too early to tell right now?
It is just far too early to tell. Part of what happens for any president is there is a reconciliation with campaign rhetoric. Things you promise on the campaign trail either are not practicable when you are president, or you have to delay them or abandon them completely to achieve a higher, more strategically important purpose. And let's just talk about North Korea for a moment. For this administration, nothing is more important than resolving, if possible, this question of North Korea's pursuit of nuclear weapons capability to bring them to the United States, which would be a menacing event of substantial historical importance. The White House wants to stop that any way that it can. So, during the campaign, the president talked a lot about immediately branding China a currency manipulator and taking aggressive economic actions to punish China for that currency manipulation. You take that off the table, why? Because you hope it will create some better result for you, and a better result is resolving this North Korean nuclear issue. You basically place one above the other in terms of your presidential priorities. And if that means conspicuously abandoning something you said on the campaign trail, so be it. Because as president, you have to achieve things that are real and lasting, even if it means reversing or abandoning a campaign promise. That appears to be what the president is doing with China on the question of currency manipulation. Now, the great unknown is, will that abandonment of a campaign promise result in something tangible? And if it doesn't, will that undermine the president's other repeated stated promise during the campaign that he was the world's best negotiator? He knew how to find deals. He knew how to achieve deals. Well, if he can achieve a deal and he gives something away and the Chinese provide nothing in return, that could be as damaging, possibly more damaging, to abandoning some campaign rhetoric.
Major, let's talk about Steve Bannon, the president's chief strategist. You've reported how his position appears to be tenuous right now. Ideologically, though, Major, what does that mean, that power struggle mean for the quote-unquote Trump doctrine?
Well, the Trump doctrine is still being written, and it is very much a jump ball in this administration right now. And these recent reversals, it would be, I think, fairly obvious to say they constitute, if not a conscious, a visible move toward the center, or toward something that might be regarded in some circles as pragmatism. On NATO, a reassessment of Russia, dealing more cooperatively with China, or ways that they would perceive as more cooperative. That would all fall under the general umbrella terminology of pragmatism. And it would not necessarily be consistent with what the president said on the campaign trail, or that Steve Bannon and those who support him within the White House would like to see the president do. And there's been very little that the president has done or said, except for border security, that is consistent with that sort of more populist, nationalist economic perspective that Steve Bannon brings to the White House. But as anyone who's covered the White House knows, these things tend to ebb and flow. Right now, Steve Bannon's influence has been diminished. His centrality in the White House conversation also diminished. But there is a very reasonable expectation, or if not expectation, possibility that things could flow back in Steve Bannon's direction. Much of that will depend on how he personally deals with this setback. And that's one of the things that you have to learn as a senior advisor to a president. Not every day are you going to be the one who wins every argument and prevails on every contentious point. And when you lose or don't win, you've got to bide your time, prepare for the next battle, prepare for the next argument, prepare for the next policy debate, and try to win it on your grounds for the betterment of the country and for the betterment of the president. Steve Bannon has almost no experience in dealing with that side of politics. And many in the White House wonder if he is A, capable or inclined to learn.
All right, Major, before I let you go, tell us about what you always say is your favorite part of your broadcast week. What is coming up on your podcast, The Takeout?
The Takeout, episode 13, right across the street from the CBS Bureau, because I had to be ready and nimble because everything is unpredictable covering the Trump presidency, and I, after all, have a day job, which I'm doing right now. But the non-day job part of my job is the Takeout podcast, which is absolutely, unquestionably, the best part of my broadcast week. And we had as good a set of guests as we could possibly have. Nancy Cordes, our congressional correspondent, and Bob Schieffer, who in every way, shape, and form is a CBS legend. And I will just tell you this. You'll want to watch on CBSN. You'll want to listen to it, download it as a podcast, because right out of the gate, we have Bob Schieffer doing a Walter Cronkite imitation. And even better, we have Nancy Cordes doing a Bob Schieffer imitation. And the show gets even better after that.
Sold. Major Garrett, I am sold. Must listen, must watch. Major Garrett, the ever talented, intrepid Major Garrett. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Elaine.